I'm not complaining, I'm explaining.
I'm not complaining, I'm just explaining.
I'll tell you why, because...
My goal is to ask you some questions you've never been asked before. I want to take a stroll through your mind. Ready to get vulnerable? A talented actor and professionally trained dancer who moves seamlessly between worlds. From powerful period dramas to poetic love stories. This is Aditi Rao Hydari.
I'm so excited to meet you.
I'm so excited to meet you. Such a fan of your work. I think you're so awesome. I think you're so talented. I actually, in this interview, want to do what your character in Heeramandi does.
Oh my God.
Because you said in an interview that what you loved about her is she uses her beauty, her privilege, and her grace to forward the freedom movement. So I want us to use our beauty and privilege and humor and
change the world.
Yes, and that is
absolutely.
and that is what we're gonna do right now. You've been quite vocal, actually, multiple times when it comes to the gender imbalance, specifically in India, because you were born and raised in India, correct? I was not born and raised in India. I'm of Indian descent, but I was born and raised in Canada. So I kind of want you to school me a little bit, actually. I don't want to come in with my idea of what I think that gender imbalance is, but why have you been so vocal about that in India? What is the landscape? Paint me a picture.
So when we talk about representation, equality, balance, etc., I know in our country it is important also to talk numbers, because I've been on sets where there has been no girl on that set. Now we can go back to why that happens, but that's a whole different conversation. So the first step is to say, are women actually coming to work? Are they being allowed to work, or are they even wanting to go to work, knowing that there are going to be various issues that they are going to have to face, and it's not going to be easy for them. For example, just a bathroom to change your tampon on your sanitary napkin or whatever it is. I have two sides to my van, right? So female ADs, I love to have them, come in, especially on days when they're super, super uncomfortable, or maybe they're just upset, and to just have a little, to just get the AC. It can really change your mood. To give them coffee, to be able to use the loo in peace. So I think these are really important. And yes, numbers do matter, but it's not the only thing. So you can't say I've had now 40% of the 40% of the people on my this thing are women, so it's all okay. No. But what is the quality that they're getting there? And what is the quality that you're drawing in, and are they staying? Are you providing them that kind of environment where they stay and they grow?
I'm obsessed with you already. We're gonna get along great. I like what you're saying, especially because I think people don't think about that a lot. You're right, a lot of representation is about, well, now we have this much representation on screen, and now this many people have employment. And a lot of this does turn into stats.
Yeah.
But you're right, the stats kind of are superficial and shallow in a way. If it's like, okay, but if you have this many women, but they're super uncomfortable and not safe and not able to do their best work, and not able to grow and not able to do all these things, does that really mean anything through the numbers? And I think something I see is that when you are a minority in situations, so if you're one of the few women on a set or in any workplace, the burden becomes on you. Like, why is it now your job to be like, let me provide a bathroom for you, let me provide AC for you? That's not your job. It is the job of the system. It is the job of the infrastructure. It's the job of
absolutely.
The set.
And I will do it happily.
Of course.
But it should be my choice, not because I have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Could not agree more. Talk to me about your experience working with Sir Sanjay, Leela, Bhansali on Heeramandi. Obviously, iconic show, beautiful, so well written, so well executed. Your character, Bibojan, just so revolutionary, so strong. Were you nervous to play that character? Was there any hesitation around playing that character? What were your thoughts?
Oh my God, okay, let me start by saying, and I've said this multiple times, but it's really because I mean it. I love Sanjay sir. I love him. Not just as an artist and a creator and this really, really incredible, iconic, legendary, a cinematic genius, but also just there is that sort of beauty inside out and that strength that he sees in a woman, which sometimes possibly even we don't see the depth of it that he sees. I loved playing Bibojan because, I find strength possibly can be looked at in one way. like that you have to have maybe a sword in your hand or you have to fight. But I think there is so much strength in kindness. There is so much strength in loyalty. There is so much strength in beauty. And when I say beauty, I don't mean just physical beauty. I mean like the beauty of the soul and the beauty of the heart. And yes, she uses her physical beauty, but you never, ever, ever doubt her intention. And you see that purity and that passion to change not just her own world, but the world around her. Personally, I've answered this question so many times that to play Bibbo Jaan, I almost felt like, thank you.
And now I'm going to ask you some questions you've never answered. How about that? That's my cue to be real and get deep. This is when I sit like
usually I'm in pan.
You can sit however you want, but when I sit like this, that means I'm about to dive into your soul. And we're about to ask some questions that are real. This is why I don't prep, because I just listen to you and now I have questions. I'm going to ask you a question.
Ask.
I want the honest answer.
Okay.
There's no wrong answers here. Something I struggle with is the times I've been on set, and I'm using set as an example, but I think you can apply this to any job, but specifically with stories. There's been a history of men telling women stories, or men creating female characters, or men guessing how a woman would react, what she would say. And usually you can detect that. Usually you can sense that. Usually a woman can watch something like that and be like, I can tell a woman play. With Sanjay sir, he does have this unique ability. I think he has a unique ability to create female characters and tell female stories in a way where you're like, this feels really real and has it. What is it about him that makes that possible? Like, what is the difference between working with Sanjay sir and someone else that makes his female characters and female stories the way they are?
How can I answer this for him? But this is something I see, that he really, really understands. Even if he understands a woman's mind, and more than that, he has so much value for it. It's his value for a woman and who she is that I think translates.
How so?
I would say that people look at courtesans in a particular way. Damned, quite often. Tragic. Now here is a show where I said, here is a maker and a creator who looks at courtesans first as women with agency. Women who are actually in control of their narratives, despite their circumstances. Mm-hmm. And whatever their circumstances are, they rise above it. And then the world gets to see that. Also, the fact that courtesans in particular were not these unidimensional damned women. They were artists. They were educated. They very often were part of political situations, decision makers. I think that's incredible, and I think it's so important to show that side, this whole sort of cultural context that is kind of hush-hush, or is unspoken of, or is like, okay, we're not going to talk about it, because at that time it wasn't like that. All the most important functions they were invited to. People needed their blessings because they were very empowered women.
You hit the nail on the head. I think it's that you're seeing a variety of different women, because often women are shown very one-dimensional, and you're seeing women who all want different things, and they all tackle the way they want the things in different ways. But let's strip away even the entire concept of the show. The fact that there is a hit show that had the budget it had and the creator it had, that is a pretty much all female cast.
Absolutely.
And that poster is all female. Do you believe in your heart that it will be easier to make shows like that now? And to be honest, is it going to be easier for you to make another show like Heeramandi? Is it going to be easier to sell a show like that and to create a show like that and to get that budget again?
No, I don't think so. I hope so. I hope there will be a change, because I hope that stories and the power of storytelling is what takes center stage. And so if the show is about, whether the show is about 5 women or 3 women and 3 children and an animal, or 2 elderly people and whatever. So I want the power of storytelling to win, because women participate in life, like they give life. They are life givers, and they are basically life runners. So they are equal participants in life. So shouldn't they be equal participants in storytelling? Because storytelling is about, you're telling stories about people's lives.
If you were to ask me the question of, do I think it'll be easier for the next Heeramandi to happen? Do I think it would be easier for anyone else to create? I think my answer would be that when stories about women are told and are successful, it is seen as an exception.
It is, yeah.
And not the norm.
You're absolutely.
And I'm trying to figure out how many exceptions we need
Yeah.
in order for it to be the norm.
Absolutely. Like, for example, after Heeramandi, it was wonderful. I got so much love, so much appreciation, so much everything. Have I signed my next show / film / No. I haven't. I'm still waiting.
But that's what I mean. Is this the biggest show on Netflix? I know this. Actually, one of the top people at
And
Netflix,
I got
saw
a lot
them.
from it.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot. But yeah, I'm still
It's
waiting.
not a rare thing I've heard. Most people that I speak to, and I've been privileged enough to speak to a lot of people who are in this position where they're a woman who's been in a hit show, all say the same thing to me.
Really?
Is I got so much love and I got so much stuff. Haven't gotten a job offer yet for a next job, but I got a lot of love.
Yeah.
Obviously, Heeramandi talks about class, shame, honor, and it's from a different time. Not necessarily the time we're living in right now. But have things changed since that time?
So this whole notion of shame and honor, I think, has really changed post-colonization. Today, I do believe, at least in the world that I have grown up in, because women are expansive, they have traveled the world, they have platforms to speak, and they want change. And I'm talking about my world because that's what I understand and I can talk about. So I know that there, of course, there's been change, but in the part of India that I might not know too much about, and I shouldn't possibly speak about because I would not actually have facts, statistics, etc. I don't know if there's been that much change. I think this whole notion of morality is quite complicated and very, very deeply entrenched. Did I answer that?
Yes, and I will say in some ways we have taken steps backwards compared to that show. In that show, you do see women that have financial freedom. You do see women who do make their own choices often. I mean, there's other obstacles they go through, but I do think for some women, we're taking steps backwards. I agree that for some groups of women, there has been progress. But it's interesting that even though time has progressed, some of these ideas have even worsened for some groups of people.
And also just the fact that there was a lot more overlap, you know, in terms of the overlap of different kinds of people and their professions, etc.
And the last thing I'll say is what's interesting is that I think where we've seen a lot of issues in our culture is when that overlap doesn't happen. When politicians all look the same, when sets all look the same, when decision makers all look the same. I think it's the lack of overlap of people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think that's what we've essentially been saying. If more women are in those rooms, if more different types of people are in those rooms, then I think less of that happens.
No, absolutely. Because we talk about inclusivity, but I think sometimes we also create more boundaries, you know? But what is truly inclusive is that you coexist, appreciate each other. There should be no other. We are human beings.
Where are you hoping this industry goes in terms of its representation of females? Are you really content with where it is right now? Is there something you're still wishing you could see in terms of...
Oh my God, there's so much more.
Tell me.
There's so much more. Like I said, storytelling needs to be center stage and storytelling about anyone. So if a woman is at the center of your story, why is a big deal made of it? Like you said, it's an exception. And we speak about it. This is a heroine-oriented script. Why do we use that term? Why do we have to define it? We don't say this is a hero-oriented script. We don't use that word. So why do we need to define it? Because there is a need for it. Because it, like as you rightly said, it is an exception. So we need to point out to you that we're doing something special. And then when we're doing something special, you need to then be on the back foot because it's almost like we're doing you a favor. I'm not complaining, I'm explaining that this tends to happen. So we're doing you a favor. So basically, live on love and fresh air because at least this film is getting made. Now that I find needs to change.
You said, I'm not complaining, I'm just explaining. Why?
I'll tell you why. Yes. Because I believe that when you complain, the person in front of you does not receive what you're saying very well. They get defensive. But when you talk and when you explain and when you reason, people listen to you better. And you can only create change when somebody accepts your what you say is of value. And when it comes with resentment or any kind, I'm not saying it's wrong. People can do what they want to do. There's no judgment call in this. But for me, I've always found that if I want to make a point, I will make it in a way that the receiver receives it better.
I'll tell you why I say things like that. My reason is a lot less graceful than your reason. My reason is, and I've actually noticed this a lot, that I'll finish a full interview with someone, and then at the very end or something, they'll say, by the way, not all men. I just want to make sure not all men. Or like, I'm still very grateful.
Yeah,
I do that too.
Oh, okay.
Well, for me, I think it's a learned thing where as much as I believe in everything I am saying, I do have a fear inside that I know the reception is going to be men saying, stop complaining about us, stop saying this about this. And I think for me, I'm trying to train my brain to be like, if my equality makes you uncomfortable, you need to fix your discomfort, not my equality.
You're absolutely right, because you're so right. The fact that people react that way is also their problem. I completely understand, which is why everybody must communicate in the way that they find comfortable. And my saying what I said was...
And your reasoning also makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you my less graceful reason why I do that. But I agree. I think meeting people where they are is really important.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you're a pushover or that you're being diplomatic or that you're... None of the above. My thing is literally, I want the person to hear me out and to understand where it is that I'm coming from.
I know I've read about you that you're very, you like to see the positive in a lot of situations.
I do. I really do.
I like your optimism. I would like you to put it in a bottle and give it to me so I can take it home and spritz it on myself when I'm feeling really bad. Thank you.
What's going on? I hope you enjoyed this conversation. And if you did, check out the last one I did right over there. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Also, be sure to follow my charity at Unicorn Island on Instagram because we post exclusive content and behind the scenes footage you want to see. Trust me. Until next time.